Billionaires.
It's kind of weird that we wouldn't have to go into a new stream.
Yeah, I've never seen this happen before. You guys, let me refresh to make sure. Okay, you're live on a new stream. I'm going to keep working on it in the back.
Okay. So we're live, but I don't know that there's anybody there. So
yeah, Colin, we don't have it. The
oh, wait,
audience.
there's a couple of people.
Yeah. So this is so beyond the pale at this point. It's like so obvious that our channel.
I know, but it's like okay, but I'm not gonna let it kill my mood. I'm not, because it's like this is.
No, it's not about killing the mood. It's about, you get set up to do something and then it just gets completely shot. And so
That's
something.
Life.
No, it's not right, because if there's only 3 people here, then clearly they're not getting the stream. So whatever's going on.
No, I don't think it shows us as being live still. Hold on.
It's like I said, something's wrong. And whatever it is, I don't care if we have to reset the whole fucking thing, then let's do it.
No, we're live right now. We're live. We're live.
Doesn't matter to me. I don't care if we're live. I care if we're actually getting.
No, this is the reset. That's why it's taken a sec for people to trickle in. I created a brand new live stream, so I just deleted the old one, so everyone will be slowly coming in here. But
Guys,
it'll
come in, hit that like button as soon as you can. Again, this is just another example of the type of shit that we have to put up with on a daily basis with this fucking. Yeah, I'm talking to you, YouTube. I'm talking to Google specifically. I'm not even talking to YouTube. I'm talking to every last son of a bitch out there that is fucking run by the Zio billionaire oligarchic class that controls our whole fucking country. And this
so
is just
welcome people coming in. We realized that even though we were live on our end on StreamYard, yet we weren't live on YouTube. So our producer Colin was nice enough to recreate a stream, and so they're doing everything they can to stifle us and suppress the content and hurt our numbers. And that's just the way it's going to be, people. That's just the way it is. And we have to, I mean, that's where we're at. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you to Colin for fixing it. But please hit the like button.
I'm not upset at all. I'm upset because it's like, it's almost like, guys, if you want to shut us down, just do it. Like, just do it already.
Why? Just stop. So since we didn't have our normal countdown, because when it counted down, we were sitting alone in a room. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Thursday night. It is time for revolutionary change. I'm Jen Perelman.
It's not Thursday night where I am just yet, but I'm Peter Hager, and I'm waiting for the sun to go down so that my lighting looks even better.
Because that's what we're all concerned about, is Peter's lighting.
And Jen just wouldn't be Jen if she wasn't poking needles at me every.
You're just so like, you cannot go through a show without it being like something about your lighting, your camera.
Yeah, do you have Voodoo Doll? Do you poke? Do you poke like, or what is it? Needles into a Voodoo Doll? Is that how it works? No, I'm not sure I believe it, but.
I don't do negative things out there in the universe. I don't put negative shit out there in the universe. That is why I hate the way that I feel when I see people, and I feel like I feel myself wishing harm to people, because that's just not at all who I want to be. Like, it's definitely not something I feel good about. And so, no, I don't wish negative stuff on people.
No, I don't
even, and I don't, I mean, right now I do to some people, but prior to recently, that was not something that was.
Yeah, but they're not exactly people now, are they?
No, they're animals. But I'm just saying, like, I am generally not someone who, I don't put out. And I say curses and hexes, and I am not practicing anything. I just mean in terms of wishing harm on people, thinking bad. Like, that doesn't serve. And it only comes back because negative thoughts only poison the person that has the thoughts. And I don't need more negative thoughts like that when there's so much already in the world that's so sad. So no, I'm not going to put out negative voodoo on people, because it'll just come back and bite me in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about the other day, I do believe in the karmic alignment of the universe. I think that that is a huge part of what we go through on a daily basis. We have seen a lot of things move in very peculiar ways, and this is just another example of it. You know, we like having these intros. Guys, I cannot emphasize this enough. If you're going to be here and you're going to watch with us, hit the like button. It's not a lot to ask. It's a very simple ask, and it doesn't cost money. Even better. No, this is a better, that's better. 1/3 of the people here have hit the like button. Very, very, very underwhelming, I have to say. And clearly you're here for a reason. You can't convince me that 2/3 of the people that are watching this live stream are Zio.
No, that we don't have that many hate watchers. I mean, we have some hate watchers, but I don't think we have a lot.
So speaking of the lengths that people will go to try to get a point across. Now, a lot of you have probably seen this clip that was dropped earlier today by Power to the People on X. That just happened this afternoon. It was a major arson fire in Ontario, California. Now, I don't know how much you guys know to the extent of...
Assume they don't. Let's just assume people don't know because they haven't seen it. Just, you know, what's the story? Because I don't know. I'm not on X.
An employee of this distribution center in Ontario, California, decided to make a video as he was setting the place on fire. Can't say I don't understand.
Oh, it's so Mangione monetary theory-esque. It warms the heart. It warms the heart. Yeah, and this isn't an Amazon facility by any stretch, is it?
Not at all.
It's just yeah. Okay. Yes, it's warehouse, Luigi. So let's see that, because you did forward me the video of the fire blazing. They took out the entire warehouse.
Here we go.
Should have paid us enough to fucking live. You know, we may not get paid enough to fucking live, but these bitches dirt cheap. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to fucking live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. There goes your inventory.
And there it went.
Oh yeah, nobody's convicting him. You're not gonna, if he gets arrested and he gets, like, I'd be shocked. They're not going to find
tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars down the tube. And all for what? Because, as it turns out, it's a pretty simple concept. Just pay us to fucking live. Really a lot to ask, isn't it? Well, you should know that in this broken system that is falling apart, you should know exactly who these people are.
So who owns this company? What company is that?
NFI.
Is that that was the warehouse? Was an NFI warehouse? Is that?
It is an NFI warehouse and distribution site.
Okay.
CEO Sidney Brown, indicted in sweeping New Jersey case against political giant. The CEO is one of 6 defendants in case focused on redeveloping the Camden waterfront, where TL Carrier is headquartered. So it turns out.
And this is dated when? Which, like, let's, you know.
Summer of 2024.
Okay.
We see it, Colin. NFI CEO Sidney Brown, a member of the family that has owned the truckload carrier for more than 90 years. Kimberly-Clark, I believe, owns the industrial building that NFI operates out of. So they basically lease the property from Kimberly-Clark and then they distribute it around the country. Kleenex, a whole bunch of, different necessities, if you will. So anyway, they've owned this truckload carrier for more than 90 years. Brown was indicted this week, this being the beginning of summer 2024, as part of a broad investigation of a major New Jersey power broker. While NFI is not a target of the investigation, the indictment says the truckload carrier received more than $7 million in financial benefits as a result of receiving tax credits for moving its headquarters into the Triad 1828 Center on Cooper Street in Camden, New Jersey, which prosecutors say became possible only through the hardball tactics of South Jersey's George Norcross and his brother Philip. Now, if anybody knows anything about George Norcross, they would know that he is a very powerful, I think he may be a former congressman now, but the Norcrosses are notorious for controlling the waterfront in South Jersey between Camden and Philadelphia. This has been going on for decades. So NFI also has further tax credits to claim. There are no legal issues with the credits. Norcross has long been described as a Democratic power broker, though he held no public office and never okay, so then I guess this is his brother then that he's talking about. On NFI's website, the company says it is the country's 6th largest dedicated carrier and the 4th largest warehouse provider, and that it has more than 16,000 employees. The net worth of Mr. Brown is over $1 billion. Spokesman for the company declined to comment. So what is the enterprise? The indictment portrays Brown as a member of what prosecutors call the Norcross Enterprise, without being one of its leaders or directly engaging in what the indictment portrays are often threatening steps some members of the enterprise took. That allegedly,
so if they're using the phrase enterprise, then that says that it's a RICO case. Okay, like that screams a RICO case. Is this federal or state? This is state?
That's a good question, but it crosses state lines, I think. So we'll find out.
Okay, so then if it's something that crosses state lines, then it would be a federal
case,
federal jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And if they're using the phrasing enterprise, it's they're working to prove a RICO case, and that's very, very specific. It's a very RICO is a very specific statute that certain criteria has to be made to make a case, which is one of the reasons they're using that wording. Just as but anyway, this is from 24, so we could probably easily look up and see what they were charged with. But I would assume it was a RICO charge.
Brown has direct ties to George Norcross through Cooper Health, a South Jersey health system where Norcross is chairman of the board of trustees and Brown is a member of the board. Brown also described in the indictment as a member of the group that ultimately bought not only Triad 1828 Center, but also the Ferry Terminal Building and 11 Cooper in Camden. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, just in case you're wondering why we advocate for single-payer healthcare, because if single-payer healthcare existed, this bullshit wouldn't exist. So just keep that in mind.
Lee Argent, arson is federal, I think. Arson is just the name of a crime. So, for example, it's going to be against the penal code in every single state. So it will be a state crime, but you could also have charges in a federal court for arson if it were on a federal building, if somehow it interfered in interstate commerce, then they could claim that the federal court has jurisdiction. But arson in and of itself is a criminal act, and it would be prosecuted at the state level as well. So if just regular Joe goes and sets fire to his neighbor's house in whatever state that is, they're going to be charged under state law. It's a state crime for arson. So I don't know. Right. I thought it was a teachable moment.
The 111-page indictment mostly focuses on the interaction between the group led by the Norcross brothers. George, in particular, and various state and local officials in redevelopment efforts along the Camden waterfront. They've been trying to redevelop the Camden waterfront for decades. The city directly across the Delaware River from Philadelphia was once a major manufacturing site that over the years saw such manufacturers as Campbell's Soup and RCA Victor depart for other locations as it sank into poverty and population decline after I passed NAFTA in 1993. So don't you ever forget the role that I played in making sure that that entire city fell by the wayside. 6 people indicted are George and Philip Norcross, Brown, former Camden mayor Dana Red, George Norcross's personal attorney, William Tambusi. Gee, I wonder who he represents. And John O'Donnell, an executive in an organization that, like NFI, moved into Triad 1828, and who's also described in the indictment as a member of the group that owns some of the Camden real estate. That is the focus of the charges.
Okay, so can we just, I mean, now that we know who this guy is from this fire, right? So we've traced that. What's the current status of this? Because it's at this point, it's kind of silly to read when we can just look up what the status of this case is. Because now it's already we're 2 years in. So now what's the date on
this? So this is, hang on a minute. So Sid Brown, a trucking magnate and co-defendant in George Norcross's racketeering case, pleads not guilty, of course.
Told you it was a RICO case.
NFI CEO Sid Brown, making his first court appearance since the charges were announced in June, pleaded not guilty Wednesday to charges of racketeering, conspiracy, extortion, and related counts. Colin, show in on this guy's face. Okay, hold it right there. This is the person that the arson employee was addressing.
Okay. This is the owner of that distribution center. This is
Correct.
The douchebag that doesn't think people deserve a living wage.
The guy who's going through a RICO federal indictment does not believe in paying his employees enough to live.
This is how it ties together. This is the guy who the arsonists were speaking to, saying, all you had to do was give us enough money to live. And he just couldn't see fit to do that. So his warehouse just went up in smoke. So was he convicted?
I don't know.
That's what we need to see here. Wait. What's the date? Okay. So now we're, all right. So that's same year, months later.
Let me see if there is anything new.
Because the whole point is, I think, was that this was the same piece of shit.
We'll get to it in a second. I'll pull it, but let me just set the stage here. For almost 30 years, Sidney Brown has served as chief executive of a family business that started as a one dump truck gravel hauler in Vineland during the Great Depression and has since grown into one of the largest trucking and freight service companies in the U.S. Brown's company, National Freight Inc., known as NFI, with sales now topping $3.5 billion a year, started a new chapter in its long history in 2017 when it announced it was relocating its corporate headquarters to Camden. Again, bribery here, bribery there.
So where was it? It was originally, is that Trenton? Is that where it went from Trenton to Camden?
Or may have been on the Pennsylvania side. I'm trying to read more into this. Taking part in the waterfront redevelopment plan by George Norcross III. Again, guys, this is the thing. There's Debbie Wasserman Schultz's everywhere. They're all over the fucking place. George Norcross is the same. He's a crooked Democratic Party establishment power broker. The whole fucking family. They run the waterfront in South Jersey. They're not the Sopranos, but man, they sure like to pretend that they are. The South Jersey Democratic power broker and insurance executive, now Brown, 67, has been indicted alongside Norcross and 4 others on state racketeering charges that accuse them of abusing their political power to squeeze out rival developers and obtain valuable real estate. And if we have to cap a few people along the way and toss them into the Delaware River, then that's just the cost of doing business. That's capitalism, baby.
Well, now the irony of this, or the sickness in this, really, is that the amount of damage that these total pieces of shit did in their actions in terms of financial to other people, to working people, the damage that what they did caused, or to what they did in terms of gentrification when they moved there, whoever knows, however much damage they did, I guarantee you it so far outweighs the damage of that guy's warehouse being set on fire. And yet the decorum people would all somehow think that setting the fire, well, that's a crime, which it is. But yet all these other things, which a lot of them aren't even illegal, somehow that's okay. Or he'll get a slap on the wrist.
Look, I'm wondering if the guy who started the arson fire even knows who this guy is. Like, even knows that this guy that he works for is a federal criminal.
Maybe not.
So he's been indicted along with Norcross for others with the racketeering charges, accuse him of abusing their power. Brown making his first court appearance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mercer County Superior Court, which is where Trenton is located. Brown of Philadelphia, so I was right, he is Philadelphia, declined to comment as he left the courtroom in Trenton. In a statement issued shortly after the proceedings, attorney Lawrence S. Lustberg said Sidney Brown pleaded. I'm not going to stop. I'm not, because it isn't a conspiracy anymore. It is what it is. And yes,
I just think it's such a good lawyer name. Like, you couldn't make up a better lawyer name. It's good.
They're going to stick together. They're going to stick together till the bitter end. Sidney Brown pleaded not guilty today because he is not guilty. Sid has in fact done absolutely nothing wrong. He is proud to be an important part of the revitalization of Camden through his investment in residential and commercial real estate, that of which pretty much nobody can afford, which has transformed the city's waterfront.
I'm sure it has.
It is just a matter of time before he is exonerated. Well, since you asked.
Okay, Lipschitz literally was the name of the rabbi at Beth Torah in North Miami Beach when I was a kid. It was a conservative shul in North Miami Beach, and it was Rabbi Lipschitz. I shit you not. That was his name.
Does his lip shit?
I am telling you that it was Rabbi Lipschitz. That wasn't that's a real name.
So I want to bring this all full circle, and whether or not, again, this has any real legitimate tie-in to the actual arson fire, I'm going to say this about Sidney Brown so that you all know. Yes, Sidney Brown is Jewish, and they are a very prominent, affluent contributor to the state of Israel, including the Beth Israel Synagogue in South Jersey, which is, again, one of those just more noted pro-Israel conservative synagogues. And you might be wondering, since this employee decided to set fire and cost the Browns tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, which of course I'm sure they'll make up for in insurance because that's
please. They'll end up profiting off of that.
I'm sure he did. Yeah, next thing you know, you find out he paid the guy off. He was trying to get a squeeze in. Would you care to guess what actually happened with this indictment?
Where was that fire? Where was this fire?
Ontario, California.
In California, Henry.
So this should come as no surprise to anybody. New Jersey ends its prosecution of NFI CEO Brown and 5 others. Original indictment was tossed out once and affirmed on appeal. New acting attorney general drops the curtain on further prosecution.
I'd like to know why.
Oh, well, let's get to it. Let's see if there is.
I'd like to know what the grounds were. Yeah, what we have here.
The state's acting attorney general, Jennifer Davenport, has decided not to appeal a recent decision by the Appellate Division of New Jersey Superior Court that upheld an earlier dismissal of the racketeering case against Brown and 5 others over development rights in the South New Jersey city of Camden. Our office has decided not to seek review from the New Jersey City. They don't even want to review it from the Jersey Superior Court in State versus Norcross. The Attorney General's office said in a prepared statement, referring to the formal name of the case. In light of the appellate's decision, we have concluded that our prosecutorial resources would be best spent on other matters. As
well,
if
okay. I have some questions. I have some questions for the state attorney. You know, RICO is a very, very difficult statute to prove. And it, like I said, it's very specific. It has very specific elements that have to be met. It's been so many years since I studied a RICO case. But the point I'm making is that that's an exceptionally hard charge to prove, whereas there would probably be a lot of lesser charges that would be easier to prove. So what I would be curious about is what else were they charged with besides racketeering? And if nothing else, like let's say hypothetically, that was the basis of their whole case was the racketeering and there was no, okay, this is hard. This is why I'm not a law professor. But if that's the whole basis of their case and there were no other charges, it almost says to me that they intentionally did that, knowing that they wouldn't be able to make that case and knowing that it would get dismissed. Because otherwise, it seems like you would attempt to at least charge a lot more provable crimes that would have to be within that RICO statute anyway, because the RICO statute includes multiple other crimes. So yeah, I would need to know a lot more about this.
Acting Attorney General Davenport moved into the role with the recent inauguration of Mickey Sherrill as the state's governor. Mickey Sherrill is also somebody who thinks very highly of the state of Israel. Her predecessor, Matthew Platkin, brought the case against Norcross and his associates. Sherrill is a Democrat and was her predecessor, Phil Murphy. So choosing not to appeal the case further cannot be seen as a result of a change in the political party heading into the state government. No, that just makes it worse.
No, that just shows that it's all the same and it doesn't matter. This is an oligarchy thing, not a political party thing.
Just like Trump does.
Right. Exactly.
Brown, whose family founded NFI and controls the company, was enough of a side defendant in the case that the dismissal just under a year ago of the indictment brought in June of 24 by then Attorney General Plotkin led the court to say of Brown and one other defendant. What did these two men do? They bribed people so that they can control everything, and they have proven it in very few words that that is exactly what was happening. And we all know that this is something that's been going on for decades with trying to redevelop Camden at the water.
Clearly they didn't prove it, because if they proved it, then we wouldn't be here. So
let's see if there's anything else here.
I mean, this is a very typical pay-to-play situation. Developer, any type of gentrification, those people that are involved in that, they already have coverage from the judicial system. They're all, it's all connected. But that's another difference between state and federal. Now, could, depending on what this crime was, could there be a federal case? Maybe. I don't know. But chances are they're not going to seek it. And the truth is, if the feds seek it, they win it. Feds don't charge a case that they don't win. Their rate is like 99%, whereas state court, the state attorney, they don't want to.
Don't forget how absolutely effed up the justice system is, especially with the FBI. And on top of everything else, don't think for a second that somebody like Brown is not exceptionally powerful. Not just because of his ties to Israel, but because of how wealthy he is. And once you get to that level of wealth, you basically control the system. And if you crush your workers in the process, no one's going to bring any labor law violations against you, even if it is in the state of California, because this is all for show. This isn't real. We are living in a situation where the system cannot be resuscitated, and it shouldn't be. You have to so you have to start again. You have got to try something else. So in conclusion, but as for Brown, the few references to him in the original indictment portrayed him mostly as no more than a participant in various meetings in which the development rights back. Again, one thing about these guys, they do cover. You don't get to that level of wealth and power if you don't know how to cover your tracks. Just like
they have
Lussford,
people that do this stuff for them.
Exactly. If someone's going down, it's not him. I can assure you of that. and the tax credits that went along with it were discussed. The development eventually led to the construction of the Triad 1828 Center, which is where NFI is now headquartered.
Isn't that interesting?
But today somebody...
Karma. That's karma.
Yeah. And somebody today decided to say, I'm not going to take this sitting down, and I don't care how long I go to prison for if that's what's going to happen. I want everyone to know who Sidney Brown is. I didn't know who he was before this story, but I do now. And now a lot of other people are going to know who he is. And he is a criminal.
We're looking at you, Sidney, you piece of shit.
But claim anti-Semitism while you're at it, even though that word's got to get retired. We have to retire. So what we're retiring ceasefire.
No. We don't have to retire ceasefire. We only have to retire ceasefire as to pertaining to empire or Ziohel. Other countries, I can't speak as to them, but I think would act honorably under ceasefire conditions. Other nation states seem to understand it. So we don't understand it.
There's a lot of things that we don't understand. And one of those things that we don't seem to understand is that when we say that we're going to have a ceasefire, that means that you actually have one. Now, we understand that we've got a long ways to go to catch up to Israel when it comes to breaking ceasefires, but it appears that we just can't help ourselves.
How do you think, if you throw in treaties, agreements, any sort of pacts or truces, yeah, we're up there. We've not kept this. Why don't we talk to some of the first people of Turtle Island and ask them, how well does America keep its contracts?
Not too well. Not too well. So most of you have probably seen that we had supposedly started some type of a ceasefire. And again, I use that term loosely. But as it turns out, we don't actually listen and we don't actually adhere. Why? Well, of course, Israel is the primary motivator, but this is a very important story. J.D. Vance says Iran would be dumb to let talks collapse over Lebanon. Oh, yeah. Jen, please.
Well, because J.D. Vance is such a beacon of intelligence and wisdom. So J.D. Vance says Iran would be dumb to let the talks collapse over silly little Lebanon.
Well, look, if we're just genociding Lebanon, you're not going to let that be the reason we can't get along, is it?
Look. I want to say, how many people are in Lebanon? I want to say it's 5 million or something like that. It's something. What's 5 million people?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the vice president says Iran had a legitimate misunderstanding about Lebanon's inclusion in this week's ceasefire. So again, we're going to preface this with, we don't honor ceasefires to begin with. So, but let's just for shits and giggles assume that we were going to honor this particular ceasefire agreement. So the vice president says it would be dumb. That's the best word you've got, hillbilly elegy boy, dumb, to jeopardize its ceasefire with Washington over Israel's attacks in Lebanon. Yeah, they'd be dumb. Although Pakistan, which mediated the truce, said explicitly that Lebanon is included in the 2-week ceasefire, Vance told reporters that the U.S. did not agree that Israel would stop attacking the country. If Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them, and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice, Vance said as he left Hungary on Wednesday. We'll get to that. Why was he in Hungary? We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice. Earlier, yeah, I'm sure he did. And by the way, we can get into the 10-point plan in a second. Earlier on Wednesday, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, please, people, don't hate me for butchering the names, shared Pakistani Prime Minister's Shehbaz Sharif's statement announcing the ceasefire. He highlighted the part about Lebanon. The Iran-U.S. ceasefire terms are clear and explicit. The U.S. must choose ceasefire or continued war via Israel. It cannot have both. Still, U.S. President Donald Trump and his White House have argued that Lebanon was not part of the deal. Vance dismissed the conflicting positions as a misunderstanding. There's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith propaganda going on. Now that we agree on. We're right on that, JD. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. You do? Yeah. You really are a hillbilly, aren't you? I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. So
he's lying.
Not only is he lying, but this is, you could take it down. This is ridiculous because the 10-point plan from Iran, that has nothing to do with what they're negotiating in a ceasefire. Let me be clear. Iran put forward that 10-point plan as the baseline minimum required for them to even negotiate. So when the United States said we're negotiating, that was when to Iran, that meant that you've accepted this. Again, see, we think we're driving it, but we're not. They are. They're in charge. So their 10-point plan specifically mentions Lebanon. So not only was Lebanon, you could say, wasn't part of your ceasefire understanding, JD, but the deal was that they weren't even going to discuss anything with you until you abided by the 10-point plan that Trump threw in the trash. So Lebanon was always part of the deal. Iran would not negotiate if it weren't. And they know that. And JD knows that. They all know it. They all know it. Because whether or not he's acting like he knew it, he read the 10-point plan. He read it. He not only knew that it mentions Lebanon, but he knew that that was the prerequisite to the ceasefire negotiations. It was not part of the ceasefire negotiations. Very different things.
According to MP of Iran, the violation, 3 of the 10 points have already been violated within 24 hours by the United States and Israel. The violations include Israel's continued attacks on Lebanon, the entry of a drone into Iranian airspace, and denying Iran's right to enrich uranium.
Do you want to get into Lebanon? Or, I mean, like, because the Lebanon situation.
I do want to say one other thing, and why Israel is driving, obviously, a significant portion of this. Trump is now out there saying that we totally need to leave NATO. NATO's terrible. We really have to leave NATO. What's the dirty little secret about NATO? You can't be in NATO and attack a fellow NATO country. The United States is now under the guise of, and again, people can say it's Trump, but Trump is no different than Biden or any other puppet that's been in that position before. The fact of the matter is, Israel, through Smotrich and everyone else, has indicated they want to expand this war as much as they possibly can, and that includes expanding it into Turkey. You cannot attack Turkey because Turkey is in NATO. But if the United States...
Wait. Well, but you can apparently commandeer Greenland from Denmark, and they're in NATO.
Yeah, well, that's just suggestion. They're not actually attacking them. They're just improving their lives. In the case...
So you think this goes back to... You think it goes back to Turkey?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a huge part of it.
Because
also... Well, you have to remember something, too, about the Mediterranean is that so many... These shipping routes, these things are significant. It's not just the oil. It's all different types of resources. And when you think about the implication of what Turkey represents as a nation, as far as all of its various connections, I mean, Turkey connects Europe to Asia. I mean, it is that significant of a nation. And
just like they are geographically, they play both sides. Always have.
Of course. They have. Well, listen, it's for their survival. I understand that, but it doesn't mean I'm not here to support Erdogan. I want to be very clear about that. But I also want to be very clear about something else. The United States, if they leave NATO, is because of Israel, and that's it. And if they end up attacking Iran, then that's the reason. Oh, Iran. If they end up attacking Turkey, how many different countries can you attack? I'm just wondering, like, how far do you want to draw this out? Because
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious about what I had said before about J.D. Vance in Hungary. Now, obviously, it's connected to their upcoming elections. There's a possibility, if not a likelihood, that Orban loses. And, obviously fascists like fascists. So they want to keep as many other fascist empires afloat. So I think that's part of it. But I also think that there's something also underhanded regarding NATO going on.
Colin, can I have that tweet that I sent you earlier, the screenshot, please? I sent it this afternoon. Pretty sure I sent it to you.
What do you want to go into now?
No. I want to bookend this. I think it's important.
Which thing?
Again, this is why I think that we need to be in a chat, like a text thread. It'll be easier.
We have many of them.
No, I'm saying, yeah, you're probably right. You might be.
I know that we have multiple text threads. I am right because I'm in them. So I'm aware that we have them. So I don't know what's going on here.
Yes. All right. I sent it over, Colin. If you could just pull it up, because I think this kind of really highlights it. If you want to know, even when Trump, even for a split second, attempts to do something good, if you even want to call it that, yeah, he ended up stopping something that he started, that he should never have started in the first place. And we all know on behalf of whom that he was doing it.
Wait, what did he stop? What do you think he stopped?
Well, he didn't really stop anything. That's what I'm saying. If even for a brief second they stop bombing, okay. But then you get shit like this. Breaking. Trump has sold out Israel to the terrorist mullahs in Tehran. The art of the deal was just the art of the betrayal.
I can't believe she's finally turning on Trump, though. Good for her.
Good for her. Well, who is she? She's not turning on Trump. She's just doing what she's told to do because the Zios are always in control.
But I didn't think she'd stand up to Trump like that. I didn't think she would say that about Trump.
Well, never forget who she actually answers to. The scam position has been pivoted. And guys, if you haven't hit that like button, please make sure that you do. We're still trying to make up for lost time on the start of the stream. That was, I don't know what that was, but we're fighting through it. But yes, I think this is, again, just another example of until we are done with these guys, until we are absolutely unequivocally done with Zio hell, this is what we're in for. We are going to get people like Loomer antagonizing the president to continue to do what he's told. And listen, a lot of things can happen.
It is. This person's correct.
True?
Look at it. Look at it.
Yeah, wow, that is true.
I know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Always looking for symbols. That one kind of gives it away.
Yeah, as far as this, of course they did. Fascists are going to fascist. And they feel the imperative that, it's just like they do with Argentina. They need as many sort of like escape routes as they can have at this point, as many off ramps as they can have. So they're trying to maintain. But I think that from what I'm reading, it does not look like he is likely to win. So.
No, but there is a very important part of this whole equation that I think is very significant here that is not getting talked about enough. We have now seen what is going to happen with the collapse of empire that Trump has been facilitating. And I think if you look around at all the things that are happening, it is pretty clear that if there is a country that actually understands that if they decide to not step back from what is going on, and if they do not unite, that there is a serious problem. And that, of course, is Taiwan uniting with China, or reunifying, I guess, if that's how you want to put it. But this, to me, really says it all. It just does. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Someday.
Are we going to address the fact that I said this just like the other day on the show?
You did say it the other day. Taiwan opposition leader arrives in China on what she calls a journey of peace.
Journey to peace.
Is this really a surprise? But anybody who understands the history, or at least in the most formal sense, is because of what happened with the Japanese Empire. So that in itself,
no, Peter, you
guys,
were
if I'm
breaking
glitching
up.
or moving slow,
Peter, no, listen, you were breaking up, but I thought maybe it was me, but people are saying it's you. So you are breaking up. Something is wrong.
Colin,
Your audio.
with that article, I'm not letting the last thing we need right now is for this whole freaking thing to get shut down, because Lord knows it's the way it's going.
It didn't sound good,
yeah,
so
so
we don't need to.
You continue what you're saying, so let me get this article over to Colin.
No, but I'm not sure where we're going with this, because I didn't know we were going into the Loomer thing. So I'm not sure what you're
not. What are you talking about?
Oh, I saw that video there. I don't know what that was.
Well, I'm not pulling it up. Are we not talking? Do you not want to talk about this?
No, I want to talk about Taiwan. I wasn't sure what you were pulling up.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the problem is.
Okay, you're just breaking up. So it's just, yeah, it sounded like the Matrix.
Am I still breaking up?
Right now it seems okay, but it was when you pulled out when you were talking about the article. It's like your computer doesn't want to multitask.
Not right now, it doesn't. All right, Colin, you should have it, as you were saying.
Every time you try to do it, it messes you up. So I don't know why we do that.
There we go. Maybe that's better.
So for people paying attention, when we were talking about what is any sort of remote benefit that will come from this nonsense that we're doing and trying to take over the world. But one of the good things will be, I do think that the Taiwan question is going to be answered once and for all. And it's going to be answered how it should have always been answered, which is that it's China and it's not our business and we need to mind our business. But yeah, that's what's going to come from this, because they're seeing that they can't be counting on us for help. And until they stop dealing in US dollars and they have their lot in with us, they're going to be screwed. So this makes sense to me.
Scroll, Colin, please. Taiwan opposition leader Cheng Li-wan arrived in China on Tuesday at the invitation of President Xi Jinping in what she's calling a journey for peace, as Beijing pushes for the self-ruled island. Whatever. Now hopefully they won't block us again. We'll see. As Beijing pushes for the self-ruled island to come under its control. The visit is the first by a Taiwanese opposition leader in a decade and comes ahead of a meeting in Beijing between Xi and President Trump scheduled to take place in May. Meanwhile, Taiwan's opposition-controlled parliament has stalled attempts by its government to pass a $40 billion special defense budget expected to fund arms deals with the U.S. and the development of Taiwan's indigenous defense industry. Hey, why don't we save that $40 billion and just make peace? Seems like something that any country other than the United States and probably Zio would be capable of doing. China claims the self-ruled island.
I have a question. Wait. What is Taiwan's indigenous defense industry? What is that?
Made up shit.
Well, I don't understand. First of all, what could be indigenous about a defense industry? So you're saying that the island of Taiwan just came with a defense industry on it? I think what you're talking about is our defense industry on Taiwan, because I'm thinking that there really isn't an indigenous defense industry in Taiwan, because what is that? And did they just do it all on their own? They didn't have assistance from us, even though China wouldn't have allowed it. Like, really? You see? Media literacy is important, people.
China claims the self-ruled island as its own territory and has not excluded the use of force to take it. Beijing has been ramping up its military pressure by sending more planes and naval vessels around the island almost daily, while its military occasionally stages live fire drills nearby. Colin? The U.S. State Department said such activities increase tensions unnecessarily and called on Beijing to cease military pressure against Taiwan. Who in the fuck died and made you king?
The level of caucasity. So let me get this right. So something that's going on in the China Sea, which is nowhere near us, between China and part of China. And somehow we think that we are entitled to have an opinion as to what that might seem like. Make this shit up.
Before leaving the capital, Taipei, the chairwoman of the Kuomintang Party, hope I said that right, told reporters that Taiwan must spare no effort to prevent war and seize any opportunity to promote peace. A few dozen supporters and detractors of Xing showed up in Taipei's airport, chanting and holding signs. The purpose of the visit to mainland China is precisely to show the world that it's not just Taiwan that unilaterally hopes for peace.
Yeah, that's why.
Believe that though this journey for peace, everyone is even more eager to see the sincerity and determination of the CPC Central Committee to use peaceful dialogue and exchange the resolve of all possible differences between the two sides. Referring to, obviously, the Communist Party. Keep going, please. China takes issue with U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. So a Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson said Tuesday, relations with Taiwan were part of China's internal affairs. China's opposition to military ties between the U.S. and Taiwan is consistent and clear.
Mm-hmm.
Can
you imagine if China started having a military defense relationship with Puerto Rico and decided that they're going to start helping Puerto Rico with their indigenous defense, industry. And they're going to start just building up some stuff there in case Puerto Rico decided that it just didn't really want to be with us anymore. Right? Can you imagine that we would just be okay with that? And yet that's what we've been doing with Taiwan forever now.
Indeed. Yeah. Beijing has repeatedly criticized the U.S. arms sales to Taiwan, in particular, a massive deal announced by the Trump administration in December, valued at more than $11 billion, that included medium-range missiles, howitzers, and drones. China prohibits all its diplomatic partners, including the U.S., from maintaining formal ties with Taipei. The U.S. is the island.
Can you say it right? I have to tell you, it's Taipei.
Taipei.
It's Taipei.
I got it. Taipei, not hard.
Yeah.
The U.S. is the island's strongest informal backer and arms provider. And the arms sale is expected to be discussed at the Xi-Trump summit. In a call in February between Trump and Xi, the Chinese leader said that Taiwan will never be allowed to separate from China. According to a Chinese government statements about the conversation released at the time, the U.S. must handle the issue of arms sales to Taiwan with prudence. Colin?
Well, fortunately for them, we don't really have any arms to be selling. When we're selling arms, we're not selling arms. We're selling contracts for arms that are yet to be built. And we're so backed up and short supplied. So the majority of these contracts that we're having to supply weapons, they're not being fulfilled. They might not ever get fulfilled.
Beijing also said the Taiwan question is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations. I would agree. So Taiwan's ruling and opposition parties hold different stances towards Beijing. It was not clear if Chiang was going to meet with Xi as part of her 6-day trip to China, which started in the eastern metropolis of Shanghai and is set to conclude in Beijing. The KMT, as Taiwan's main opposition party, is not in a position to strike agreements with Beijing that would affect the entire island, however. Chiang might sign party-to-party cooperation agreements with the Communist Party to reinstitute regular dialogue or boost ties at a municipal level between KMT-controlled localities and Chinese cities, said Wen Ti-sung, a fellow with the Atlantic Council, an American think tank. Chang's visit may sideline the Taiwan Strait tension issue from the Xi-Trump summit, thus enabling the U.S.-China summit to focus on business areas of common interest rather than geostrategic points of contention. KMT has proposed a smaller defense budget and criticizes the governing Democratic Progressive Party's larger budget as a blank check for arms purchases. Chang's visit contrasts sharply with Beijing's treatment of Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te, with whom China does not engage, labeling him a separatist. He's a suppressive person.
No, he wants Taiwan to be independent of China. And just like there are people in Puerto Rico that want Puerto Rico to be independent, and then there's the people there that want it to be a state. And then, so no, he thinks Taiwan should be separate, and he's entitled to that opinion. And he can work that out as to between him and his people and China. But I know that it's none of our fucking business. That's what I know.
Taiwan has been governed separately from China since 1949, when a civil war brought the Communist Party to power in Beijing. Defeated KMT forces fled to Taiwan. Gee, it's almost like we've heard this story 1,000 times over before, Jen. Before I even continue, can you explain what happens in places like Iran and Cuba and all places, Venezuela, where socialist uprisings end up happening?
You mean in terms of the people that leave?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, usually, and by the way, this is pretty consistent. The countries that we seem to have a problem with are all countries that in one form or another had a socialist uprising or a socialist revolution in their countries and elected, especially in the case of Venezuela, I could say their elections are conducted more fairly than ours, somebody that they wanted as their leader in a socialist manner and that wanted to socialize. And we don't like that. Right? So we don't like those countries. And when we go in and we want to help those countries go back to the way they were, our number one cheerleaders are the wealthy elitists that fled those countries from that revolution, who benefited from the system that was in place prior to that socialist revolution. So it's the wealthy Venezuelans, the wealthy Cubans, it's the people that benefited from the oppressive system that are not happy. And they want their old oppressive system back. And that's why they want us to involve ourselves in their country's problems.
On Saturday night, I'm going to be doing a video about Cash Jordan. If you got any person who calls himself Cash. This is a guy who is very popular on YouTube because he does videos about finding unique apartments in New York City. Little did I know how much of a political hack this guy turned out to be, going around making videos about how Zoran Mamdani is destroying New York City. And the only people he feels like interviewing are 70-plus-year-old white men who are not benefiting from the finance industry with Mamdani as the mayor, because that's the measure of success in the most major metropolis in the world. How is the finance industry doing? Because that's what the measure of success amongst the people truly is. And here is another example of such.
I think it's a lot of things, though, by the way, why this is happening. I think it's, do you have more to read the article?
Just a little bit more. I'll finish it up.
Yeah.
Lai's party views Taiwan as a sovereign country, not a subordinate to China. KMT, meanwhile, officially recognizes only one China, which it interprets as the Republic of China, that before 1949 included the mainland and today is Taiwan's national official name.
Yes, exactly. If that's a thing, if there is some sort of clique of Iranian Jews out in Beverly Hills that worship the new, who they're wanting to put in place, then yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about, as opposed to the Iranian Jews in Iran, who are clearly not supportive of the Zionist cause, and their synagogue was just decimated by Israel. So for people who did not know, I know we were going to cover that at some point, but that to me, when Israel says it's for Jews and Jewish safety, and then they bomb a synagogue in, not just a synagogue, but a synagogue in a place where those Jews lived and existed before Ziohel was even a state. That's how far back the Jews in Iran go, way back. And a whole bunch of them stayed even when they were supposedly kicked out, which was basically the Zionists pulling them into Ziohel to make their numbers. But yeah, the Iranian Jews are Iranian who happen to be Jewish.
Yeah, but this is the thing. The Hasbara narrative is that all Zios are evil, or all Muslims are evil, and they've completely taken over Tehran or the entire country of Iran. And as a result, there is no distinction. There is no distinction with a difference. Everybody's the same.
Exactly. So any Iranians that support that benefited from that same system. They were the people that think they're in that group, but they're not really in that group, but they're close to that group. So they benefited from basically the coattails of that group. And yes, that's how it usually is. This is in Tehran.
It appears that he's holding is that a burnt Bible? Is that what?
It looks like a prayer book. It's like a siddur. It looks like a prayer book.
I mean,
oh yeah.
I mean, you even said, I mean, to me, I would think that this is a prime example of the separation of Zionism and Judaism. Like, they're not the same, no matter what Western society wants you to believe.
Yes. Yes. That's who bombed this synagogue. Well, us and Ziohel, you know, I mean, they, yeah.
Now, I think
bombed
the real
synagogue.
Yes, but I think that there's a more important layer to this here that isn't being discussed. Did they bomb the synagogue with the intention of trying to blame the Islamic State on it? Is that essentially what they were trying to do and failed in doing so?
I don't know whether it's a matter of they're trying to convince these Jews, like they do with all Jews around the world, that you're not safe and that you are one of us and you're not going to be safe there. Or like, there's so many reasons, but also there is this general spite and disdain for Mizrahi Jews in the Ashkenazi class in Ziohel. And they do not see Mizrahi Jews as equals. That's also a fact. So these are the Jews. These Jews are bad Jews because they had the opportunity generations ago to be in Ziohel and they chose to stay in Iran. So they have beef with these Jews. Make no mistake, they are majorly bigoted against Mizrahi Jews. So
apparently Sephardic as well.
Yes, they also hate the Sephardic Jews. I mean, look, we're talking about brown people. Okay, they're brown peoples. They don't like the browns. All right. So you've got your Arabic, you know, and your Western Asia continental browns, and then you've got your Iberian Peninsula browns, which are your Sephardic browns, and they are not with any of that. That's the truth. And they all get treated like second-class citizens in Ziohel. Oh, Predator, this is a synagogue that Israel bombed in Tehran. And I don't know the nature of that particular synagogue. There are only a couple of major congregations there. I mean, even though it's a large Jewish community, it's still relatively small in the world. So this is very distressing. And yet not remotely surprised. They bombed a synagogue. So then where do you get off getting? So then somebody goes into the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh and starts shooting people, and you play a victim card because, oh my God, it's so anti-Semitic and they went and killed Jews. But if you're killing the Jews yourself, then it's acceptable. So
Yeah.
only Jews can kill Jews. Got it. Got it.
Jen, if you would, please.
Synagogue in Tehran completely destroyed in U.S.-Israeli attack. Synagogue hit after attack on adjacent residential building. Okay, so they're saying it wasn't purposefully targeted. I call bullshit. They know exactly what they're hitting. Scroll. I love the guy's name, Pizza Baller. Colin, are you there? Scroll. All right. Thank you. United States, Israel strikes have completely destroyed. Okay, that part I did. In its attacks across Iran killed more than a dozen people overnight. So this is from a couple days ago. So this wasn't just last night. It was a couple days ago. According to preliminary information, the Rafi Nia Synagogue was completely destroyed in this morning's attacks. The Shar newspaper reported on Tuesday. Scroll. According to Iran's semi-official Mer news agency, the synagogue was destroyed. Wait, we already said that. All right. Footage showed civil defense workers amid the rubble with Hebrew language books scattered on the ground. The report said that due to the narrowness of the streets surrounding the building attack, the exterior and interior of the nearby buildings were also severely damaged. That's not severely damaged. That's destroyed. There were no immediate report on the casualties. In a video published on Telegram by Iran's official IRIB news outlet, Homayoun Samet, a Jewish representative in the country's Islamic Consultative Assembly, said, the Zionist regime showed no mercy to this community during the Jewish holidays and targeted one of our ancient and holy synagogues. Unfortunately, during this attack, the synagogue building was completely destroyed and our Torah scrolls were left under the rubble. And you know what, Ashkenazi Zio Jews from hell? The thing about the Torah and all their stuff is it's all in the same language. They might speak Farsi, but they pray in Hebrew.
What is Farsi?
Well, I'm assuming these are Iranians, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so no, these are Iranian Jews, but they're Iranian. They speak Farsi. I'm presuming that, but when they pray, just like Jews all over the world, it's in Hebrew. That's the thing, even though that's not the language that they're Jews. Okay. Judaism is one of Iran's legally recognized minority religions, and the country has a small Jewish community, although many members fled in the aftermath of the 1979 Islamic Revolution purposefully and helped along by the Zios to kick them out of this country and force them to be residents of Ziohel. There are no publicly available official numbers, but there are thought to be a few thousand Jewish people in Iran. Shar called the synagogue one of the most important places for Khorasan Jews to gather and celebrate, referring to the northeastern province of Iran. The strikes were among a series of U.S.-Israeli attacks overnight in which at least 15 people were killed across Iran, local media reported. Yeah, they bombed the synagogue. Yeah.
How are you gonna rewrite that one?
6 bodies have been recovered from under the rubble of the buildings. Local officials said 9 people were killed in an Israeli air attack on a residential neighborhood in the city of Shahryar in the west of Tehran province. I am never, ever going to ever be able to learn to speak Farsi. I'm just taking that off my list because that's not happening. But yeah, this is one of those stories, just like the USS Liberty story, where it is very clear that is not our friend. That is not our friend. That's not our friend as people in this country. And that's not our friend as somebody who is a Jewish person in the diaspora. That's not our friend. And the Iranians in that synagogue most likely were very strongly not Zionist, is what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest that they were pretty anti-Zionist. They were probably Jews that were speaking out against Zionism since this whole thing started in Iran. that might be, I mean, that's one way to really quiet them. I just destroy their whole building.
But this is nothing new. That's the thing. And will it hit home? Will anybody actually pay attention to this? No, because they're going to claim that it was actually Iran that did it. It's again.
No, Iran is not Arabic. They speak Farsi. I understand. Completely different language, similar undertones, similar lettering styles, completely different languages. I understand that. No, they're not Arabic, but they are still considered, the Jews in Iran are considered Mizrahi Jews. They're not Ashkenazi Jews. They're from Asia. They're from Africa. They're Mizrahi Jews. If they're from Iberia, Spain, or Portugal, then they're Sephardic Jews. If they're Eastern, Western European, other than the Iberian Peninsula, Russian, we're Ashkenazi. And the one common thing is that we're white. And the Mizrahi Jews and the Sephardic Jews are less than white. And they don't like that.
Yeah, again, it's this ethno-supremacy, which makes absolutely no sense. I mean, have you seen what a significant portion of the Zio Jews actually look like? I mean, they're inbred.
Well, they are inbred. There's a reason that as a Jewish woman, when I was pregnant, they actually do specific blood work when both the mother and the father are Ashkenazi Jewish descent. They do a special blood work panel on a pregnant woman to determine various inbreeding diseases amongst Ashkenazi Jews. It used to only be just Tay-Sachs. Now there's like 8 or so or more different genetic disorders that are Ashkenazi Jew disorders that they test for.
Yeah, I mean,
so there's a reason, and that happens from inbreeding. That's a fact. So, and I get that.
So when you see these horrific images of what they do, and this goes for anybody, we saw what they did on Easter or Palm Sunday, I should say, but it's all connected. They're a runaway rogue nation, and we have leadership in this country that is attached at the hip to them, and they're going to let them do whatever they want because they have the power of the purse. And it is incumbent upon us as a country to figure out how we're going to get ourselves out of it. Yeah, of course.
Exactly. Same thing. It's the same. And royals would inbreed so as to never have to have the wealth leave the family.
Look at the Rothschilds. Another
thing.
prime example. Perfect example.
Or, or how a Rothschild marries a Hilton, how that happens.
Listen, I have a lot of knowledge about what actually goes on with certain cultures.
I've COVID 3 times. I assure you, we're not immune.
You're just immune from being killed from it. It doesn't mean that you can't get sick.
And how come, then what happened to Mitchell Stolberg and Jack Lieberman?
Well,
because those are Ashkenazi Jews that died from COVID, and I knew them. So,
no, what happened was that they were probably taking other medication mixed in with the medication for the COVID, and it had an adverse effect on their health. And that's exactly the reason.
Or maybe it's because when they were children, they got the smallpox vaccine, and that triggered something that when the COVID vaccine went, and then it couldn't handle it. So it was all a vaccine fault, right?
Well, maybe the reason that happened is because they don't work out as hard as I do and maintain hard physical fitness. If they were to do that, then I would be more inclined to believe that that was the reason. But if not, then they just didn't pump enough iron. Yeah. Yes. Nikki Hilton, Paris Hilton's younger sister, married a Rothschild. And you think this shit's not on purpose?
Nikki Hilton is the smarter of the two of them, though. Nikki Hilton is actually always been an exceptionally smart business person. I mean, again, she's not. I never saw her as a bimbo before. So, but
that's got nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
No, in terms of it's a power couple move. You know what I mean? Like this was a very well calculated, thought out pairing. Is my point.
Once you understand that it is all about the banking system and who controls the money, once you have control of the money supply, and you could say it's the Jews all you want, but at the end of the day, we are facing what we're facing. And, this is it is another example of, as you've often said, find out who you can't criticize. Find out, who you're not allowed to talk about, and then you get to that reality. And you think anybody would ever publish a story about the fact that Nikki Hilton married a Rothschild in the context that it needs to be framed in? Absolutely not.
What context?
That the Rothschilds
elites marry elites. That's the circle they're in. It's no different than actors and movie stars marrying movie stars. That's the circle she travels in. And do I think that there's some sort of arrangement? Who knows? But I feel like that would, that could be the case with any marriage at any level. Like, I think that was more about the Clintons, and stuff.
We are 1,000% heading for a new monetary system. It's already happening. BRICS is already a thing. It's not, it's not going to supersede the US dollar hegemony over the world over this minute, but we're definitely heading in that direction. We're also heading in the direction of precious metals becoming the form of currency that actually is real. The US dollar, I'm not going to say it's going to turn into the Weimar Republic, but it's not going to last. If at the start of the stream you saw exactly what that meant, when somebody who has reached their breaking point has decided that I'm not doing this anymore, I've had enough. Yes. And I'm going to make a point. I'm going to make a point that you will not be able to ignore, no matter how hard you try. And now we took it upon ourselves on our channel to make the real point here. Not about the act, but why did the act happen and who was the act directed towards? I guarantee you, there is not a single podcast out there right now doing the coverage that we just did on this story. The coverage is about this guy setting the fire and what that means. And of course, you'll have those paid off, Hasbara supported big YouTube channels talking about how this guy's a lunatic. I've already seen the highlights talking about him like he's a nutcase. Like the guy's crazy.
He sounded pretty freaking rational to me. Very clear. Again, very Luigi-esque. Yeah. And I respect it immensely.
Please prove to me that I'm wrong. Please tell me somebody's out there covering Sidney Brown. Somebody's covering the fact that Sidney Brown greased the wheels in New Jersey courts to make sure that his bribery case was thrown out. Find out the fact that the guy's a billionaire. He's also a major supporter of the state of Israel, as his family has been for a long time. And then find out what type of insurance he had on his materials that were now just set ablaze. So in the end, he's not going to lose anything. In fact, as Jen suggests, he's going to gain. He's going to make money off this.
He'll write it off. Yeah, he'll write it off. He'll end up, there's a slush fund somewhere. He'll write it off. It's not. People at that level don't have consequences for loss. They find a way to profit off of loss. It's different than regular people. Regular people, you burn shit down. That could be your whole life. These people, you burn shit down. They claim it. They file a claim and they end up making money on it.
Gianni, I don't know if you're breaking chops or you're legitimately a stupid person, but whichever one it is, let me assure you, gold is the most recognized currency in the world, and it has been for over 6,000 years. Now, gold is a rich person's monetary material, but it's still money. Oh, I most certainly do understand inflation. Very much.
Why are you engaging?
Okay. Not here to be talking about whether we understand economics. Point is, there is...
Yes, all money is agreed upon. That is true. Yes. But gold is universally valued.
And so
it's
is silver.
Globally valued. Mm-hmm. It just is. I mean,
Gold cannot be destroyed. And silver has very important conductive purposes that it can be used. Again, it is the barter system. That is correct. That is what we're heading towards. We're heading towards some form of a barter system.
We never should have gotten off of it in the first place.
Well, yes, that actually brings up a very good, well, you know what? That's a perfect transition, because one of the more unique aspects of the JFK Odyssey that transpired in 1963 into 1964 and then ultimately in 1965 was dealing with the banking system. Now, one of the things that I think is a very Is it the reason why JFK was removed in favor of LBJ? I wouldn't say that this is the primary driver, but do I think that it played a role? Absolutely. So up until 1965, or in this case, 1964 being the last year, that our coinage in the United States, half dollars, quarters, and dimes were made out of silver. In fact, the concentration of it was about 90%. It's pretty impressive when you think about it.
I like copper the most too.
Well, copper is useful in terms of its tangible value for.
I'm talking simply decoratively. I do like copper a lot.
Silver is the same thing. Now, like I said,
decoratively pretty to me.
As I was saying, the value of these metals is more so than the value of what the dollar actually says. Because if the system is falling apart and people don't trust the dollar anymore, then inflation is going to continue to skyrocket as it is going to anyway. Because again, the money supply does not circulate the way that it's supposed to. And we have just completely denigrated our monetary system. One of the key ways that happened was back in 1964, where silver was removed from coinage. It became known as LBJ sandwiches. These coins were basically made out of copper, were made out of zinc. The value of it just completely was destroyed.
This I could get with. Let me tell you, do not know the value of potato until you're around like a hungry Jen. Potato value is infinitely higher to me than gold, I assure you. Especially on any just given day. I'd much rather have
but what if gold could get you like 10,000 bags of fries?
Well, maybe it can, but maybe it can't. And that would be a supply situation. And in the impending thing that's happening right now, when we're living in small, sustainable communities, I don't know that gold gets me shit, but I know that the eggs my chicken lays, that might get me something that I could use to grow something else. This is what I know. But in any event, yeah.
Touche. So
potatoes.
We continue to bring up the fact that there is something very unholy about what happened to JFK. And of course, it isn't just what happened to him, but it's what transpired after the fact with LBJ. Here's a clip that you probably have not seen before that I somehow stumbled upon online the other day.
I have made it clear to the Israeli leadership that I do not support their expansionist ideas. The indigenous people of that land have rights that cannot be ignored. We must find a fair solution, not one dictated by any single group.
Oh, they found their solution, Jack.
Let's get rid of them.
Well, that's the solution. And let me tell you, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah. One more time. Listen closely.
I have made it clear to the Israeli leadership that I do not support their expansionist ideas.
What the fuck do you think they're doing right now?
I wonder who was the leadership at the exact, when was this? Who was the leadership in, what was that? 62-ish, 61, whatever years 63. This was. 61?
No, 63.
63. So this was the year he was killed. Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Who was it? Somebody look it up and put who was the prime minister in Israel. Ben Gurion.
David Ben Gurion.
Seems like Ben Gurion was, no, I don't. Really?
Yes.
He was there that late? Ben Gurion was still there in 63?
Ben Gurion was removed like a handful of months before Jack was killed.
Okay.
So it was
for some reason I had that Ben Gurion in a slightly earlier time period, but okay. Makes sense.
The fact that there is actual footage of him saying, I do not believe that Israel should be doing this. First of all, what Jack is really saying is, I don't believe in the state of Israel. Which, of course, as a Catholic, he doesn't. But they had it. If Jack had lived, I do think that the state of Israel would have collapsed a lot sooner than it did.
I don't know.
Than it is now. But
I don't know. There were so many forces out to kill him. If it wasn't going to be the Mossad, it would have been the CIA. If it wasn't going to be the CIA, it would have been like the mafia. It would have been like, there were so many conspiring forces that had motive, that it would be one thing if it was only Ziohel. And yes, I do think that was definitely the major role, but in all reality, firing Dulles from the CIA could have done it all by itself.
Yeah. Well, I think at the end of the day, if you're going to remove a president, and this is really the one president that was removed by the powers that be, you know, you can look back at the other presidents that were assassinated and say, you know, were they really taken out as some part of a grand governmental conspiracy? I don't think people believe that that was the case with Lincoln, and it was in the very early stages of.
No, they killed her too. CIA killed Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, it seems that way because
she didn't kill herself. She didn't kill herself. I never believed that. I will not believe that is, and yeah, I think she was definitely fucked up. But no, she knew things. I don't think it's a coincidence. You know, she had a press conference scheduled for the day after she was murdered. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yes, she did. And in that press conference, supposedly, she was going to explain some things as to her connection with whether it was Jack, whether it was Bobby, whether it was whatever it was. There was something that she had called a press conference. And then she just happened to get dead, and yet had a needle mark in her thigh. I don't know. Not buying it.
Then you look around at all the different things that have transpired as a result of JFK's assassination and all the various signs of stories that just all seem to connect like a puzzle. In 1963, you could get away with it, but you can't get away with it now.
Maybe. I wouldn't say, you know, I don't know, but something that made her existence damaging and threatening to empire.
You look at some of the things that Michael Jackson was saying in particular about Israel, about the Zionist class, and then the next thing you know, he's saying, I think they're going to try to kill me. And then the next thing you know, he is dead. This is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. Now,
I'm glad I never jumped on the hating Michael Jackson thing. I've always been very rational and reasonable about it. I've never thought he was some evil pederast. I think
Tommy Mottola's an evil fuck, and I think he's definitely involved in some sketchy shit.
I think that he's somebody that I could see possibly being involved in like sex trafficking, but I never got that vibe from Michael Jackson. I always said to anybody, like I remember my son asking me, Grammy asked me once if I thought Michael Jackson, you know, hurt little kids. Like, and
no, I would never do anything like that.
I always answered that I never thought he had the mens rea, and that if he did anything inappropriate and used poor judgment, it's to me, in fact, because in his mind, he was always a child to begin with. Like, I think he was so messed up. But yes. I never bought that. I never bought that he calculated and manipulated and hurt children. I never got that feeling from him. And then you have people like Macaulay Culkin and Corey Feldman, who have been consistent saying that was bullshit about Michael Jackson. And I feel like especially somebody like Corey Feldman, no reason to lie about that at this point.
Well, he lies about just about anything, but the guy is clear. If there's one thing I can safely say about Corey Feldman, about the two Coreys, they were unbelievably habitually abused, and I 1000% do believe what Corey Haim intimated before he died, that Charlie Sheen abused him when they were filming Lucas in 1985.
I don't know, but then Feldman said it wasn't Charlie Sheen. I don't know.
But there's a difference. Corey Haim is dead and Charlie Sheen is alive, and you have to remember that sometimes people just want to, I don't know, protect certain people.
I never bought that Michael Jackson was a predator. I definitely always thought he made stupid judgment calls that may have appeared and been inappropriate in terms of having children sleep in your room with you. Like, I do think he probably made some very poor choices.
Well, if you've ever seen
I never saw him as somebody that would hurt children.
Well, if you've ever seen the episode of The Jeffersons on South Park, you'd understand. I mean, that is some funny shit. I mean, what's the matter, Stan? Did you have a bad dream? Oh, yeah.
Well, now it comes out that he is protecting them from the Epstein fucks. So the Epstein class are the people that had him taken out. So yeah, that makes the most sense to me.
Michael Jackson absolutely was abused as a child.
He was so damaged.
And the thing that also doesn't get talked about enough, and this is one of the things, if you guys remember when I did have that podcast conversation with Stu Peters, that there is an element of his so-called crusade that I do agree with. And that is when these children get abused, and it is far more common than people want to admit, whether it's through trafficking, sexual abuse, physical, mental abuse, etc., there is a loss of innocence that children will have that they should not have to deal with. And
that's what I think. Differently. And I always had that. That's why I said, like, he never had the mindset to be capable. I never found that, again, and you don't know people. You just know what you see. But I don't know. He kind of wore his heart on his sleeve in so many ways, and his music was his art. And I never got the icky vibe from him as much as I felt bad that he was so broken vibe.
Yeah.
That's how I always saw it. So I'm glad that I never bought that and assumed it, and I'd feel even worse had I done that. But
yeah,
no.
I mean, like I said, did Charlie Sheen do the deed? I don't know, but I think that
it doesn't give me pedo vibes either. I know, not at all. But could somebody like Charlie Sheen have been coked up enough or fucked up enough to do something? I don't know. Maybe. But no, he does not. He definitely has never struck me as a PDF. No. I've never gotten, womanizer, lechy player, but I never got PDF vibe from Charlie.
By the way, I just saw Being John Malkovich for the first time.
Oh my God. How much did I tell you had to watch it?
I don't think so, but
I'm sure, because Cusack is brilliant in that.
Yeah, he is. John is great in that. John, listen, we'll always appreciate Cusack using his platform the way that he does. He's communicated with us before, but he never contributed financially to Jen. And I always found that to be a little.
He doesn't donate to campaigns. He doesn't donate to campaigns.
That is what it is. But yes, a brilliant, brilliant film.
The 7.5 floor.
Let me tell you something. I watched that film. And of course, Catherine Keener steals the whole film. And
I love her.
What did not surprise me, there's one reason why I watched it. So if anybody,
I thought I had told you should see it because it was awesome. I mean, first of all, I love Charlie Kaufman movies, but yeah.
So I go based on what Roger Ebert says. If Roger Ebert says it's a great movie, I'm going to watch it. And so it turns out that this was a great film. And
I know.
Catherine Keener, I remember when it was over and I said, she definitely either won something or definitely had to have been nominated for this movie. And of course,
we're talking about Being John Malkovich. It's a movie called Being John Malkovich. It's a movie written by Charlie Kaufman. If you're familiar, there's other really cool Charlie Kaufman movies. But Being John Malkovich is a really good movie. Like I loved it.
The part of the movie that I just thought was so strange was the fact, speaking of which, is the idea that John Malkovich, the idea that John Malkovich and Charlie Sheen would be friends. Maybe they are. I don't know. But I found that angle to be very strange.
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot that Charlie Sheen was in that.
And the most memorable scene, bar none, in that film is when Malkovich goes inside Malkovich like that.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was like the implosion of the universe. It was like the universe imploded. Yeah. Yeah. Guys, it's a good movie. Being John Malkovich, it's a good movie.
Malkovich.
I'm not going to speak as to Malkovich's political views. I'm not going to get into it. I'm just saying it's a good movie.
Oh, we could for a brief second.
I really don't. I don't care to. It doesn't matter. It's a good movie. It is.
Yeah, no.
All the Cusack sisters are great. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Now, whether or not Malkovich is an outright Zio, I know this. I know that he absolutely hates George Galloway. And the reason surrounding that hatred goes back 2 decades. And so much of it appears to line up directly with the state of Israel.
Sheen hates him? Who?
No. Malkovich. Hates George Galloway.
Oh, okay. Well,
he also hated another journalist whose name is slipping me right now, but it was a journalist that passed away who had very favorable opinions about Palestine. And
we can't have that.
We can't have that.
The name of the movie.
I don't know. I can't. Listen, I know
the
that
name of the movie is Being John Malkovich. That's the name. I know that's the name of the movie. I feel like the girl when he was telling her it's about you, and she's like, it's about me. No. The name of the movie is Being John,
I'm you.
Being John Malkovich, and it's a great movie. It's John Cusack, Cameron Diaz, Catherine Keener, and yes, John Malkovich. It's a great movie. It's clever. Yes. It's weird. It's very Charlie Kaufman movies are very bizarre. He did a movie called Adaptation, and
he did Adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say Adaptation is that's Cage's best movie. So yeah, it's probably
and it's Meryl Streep, and if she's in it, it's automatically good. Like that's just how it goes. But
almost. And we do. I'm not dissing. I'm just saying.
Don't diss on Street, man. Don't do it. Don't do it.
It becomes more and more clear how we ended up here, and one of the reasons being is that there are a lot of people that want to be able to go back to sleep. They don't want to live in this world now.
I do.
So you would take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind if you could? Like if you were given the chance to do it, you'd take it?
You know what? There have been many moments in the past few years that I would. I've told you, there have been many times where I've just felt like if I could Eternal Sunshine, Spotless Mind, another great movie, if I could do that, yeah. But then again, I also feel like if I could push the button and eliminate Ziohel off the face of the earth and all of its disgusting inhabitants, I would do that too. And I never thought I could feel that way. So there you go. What about Sam Altman abusing his sister? I have to look more into that, but nothing surprises me about anything. Maybe you should do I don't know what happened to Josie, but maybe you should do a Patreon/super chat thing.
If you have been enjoying this conversation, because this has been a really weird Being John Malkovich type live stream.
Everybody, your assignment is to watch Being John Malkovich. We will regroup next week on this topic, and everybody will be able to contribute.
I think it's free right now on, what is it on? Maybe
it's old enough that I would think you'd be able to find it on stuff.
Yeah, patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty, despite suppressed, yet still growing channel, of which we have passed 120,000 subscribers, as I mentioned, honing in on 121. We've been...
you can bash her personally, not professionally. Her acting is impeccable. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, and I do remember that standing ovation for Polanski.
Again, I'm not talking about any of these people political things right now. We're talking about talent.
Oh, I don't know. I think anybody who stands up and cheers.
Oh, no, I think that's shit. And I'm not a supporter of that, but I'm not going to deny that Meryl's the GOAT.
As an actress, yes, she is.
Yes,
but,
that's what I'm saying.
However, there were two people that did not stand up for Roman Polanski when he won the Academy Award for Best Director for The Pianist, a movie that I still haven't seen, even though it's Adrian Brody's best film, and I've
seen it, and it's the last Holocaust movie I have seen, and that was the one when I decided I'm never seeing another Holocaust movie, because that came out shortly after. Well, yes, but it was what was that movie? The Roberto Benigni, A Beautiful Life. It was called A Beautiful Life. And if you have not seen that movie, I don't know whether to recommend it or to tell you that you should never watch it because it's so unbelievably profound and yet disturbing. But it was so good. You didn't see A Beautiful Life? That was the one when Roberto Benigni, Life is Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, What Democracy. That, and then The Pianist came out like not that far after, and it was like Holocaust back to, and I was having like PTSD. I'm like, if you
want to see a good anti-Nazi movie, See a Christian Bale special from the early part of his career, Swing Kids. That's from 1993.
Swing Kids was great.
Swing
Kids was great.
So that's an example of a movie where if you want to see a movie that has a nice theme to it, but it's also very much anti-Nazi, it's definitely that's one worth seeing.
I didn't see Boy in the Striped Pajamas, but I'm sure it would have set me. That came out after my edict after The Pianist, then The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. That was one of the ones that has come out since that, and I cannot abide another Holocaust movie. I just can't.
So in terms of our super chatters,
movie. I'm sorry.
In terms of our super chatters, J. Pilchick is now a YouTube member.
I don't know that he's watching right now, but if you're there, Dad, that's cool. Did you figure out how to use the join button?
Must have. Citizen Pendejo with the 20 pesos. Pakistan siding with Iran, leaving Saudi Arabia to dry. Yes. Well, Saudi Arabia will dry out one day because they won't have any oil. And then what are they going to do? Just a desert land. SS Wolfenstein's SS Wolfenstein SS. Well, I guess if I don't want to assume that you're an SS officer, but hey, listen, if you want to be a YouTube member and that's where you're going to put your good hard-earned money. Thank you. Well,
he has the what's his face, the Joker.
Yeah, here's Joker.
And I think it looks like the newer one.
Jim Talib with the $5 super sticker. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you very much for always contributing to our small but mighty. Citizen Pendejo with the 20 pesos. Asia ain't got this problem. They don't use toilet paper. They use bidets.
And they're uncivilized, right?
Extremely.
As a bidet person, I think not.
Citizen Pendejo with the 20 pesos again. Israel's toast when they've lost Scaramouche. The mooch no longer supports Israel. That's a shame.
The mooch?
The mooch.
Today's sponsor today's strain is ice cream.
A special refried dog poop.
No, it's ice cream is my strain.
What flavor?
What is wrong with you? The flavor of the cannabis is ice cream.
What democracy for the $4.99? I have a friend in Gaza who is a medical student. I met him through Doctors Against Genocide. Would you be open to having him on the show? He's amazing.
Absolutely.
Sure. Why not?
Absolutely. If I can become the Palestine channel and give platform to people, then we'll do that.
That'll be how we get shut down. But yes, it'll be worth it in the end. SS Wolfenstein, SS with the $5 super sticker as well, because he digs us so much. Thank you so very, very much. And Noah Linden with the $5. America and Israel attacked Iran 3 times in a row in the middle of the negotiations. This is reputational self-deletion. Oh, it most certainly is. I mean,
Trump's having a whole negotiation with himself. He's having a whole negotiation with them. Meanwhile, let us not forget that they haven't spoken to the Iranians.
Nope.
No. They have to pass notes to the Pakistanis. That's how ridiculous this is. This is one of those situations. I don't normally think things like this, but I cannot tell you how much a female is needed in this situation. Truthfully. And I'm not talking about in Iran. I'm talking about everywhere. We need these people are just their masculine is all out of whack. We need to see more of the feminine rise. And I don't mean just women, but the feminine, because the masculine hasn't been working. This isn't working.
Cut your hair with some Pantene Pro V,
It's just unbelievable. No, not Hillary. No. I'm not talking. When I say female, it doesn't necessarily need to be an actual female. It's female energy. It's feminine energy. And by the way, the absolute sexiest men are men that are comfortable with that in them. Because everybody has some of everything. It's a spectrum. And the people that are comfortable with that are the most comfortable with themselves. And confidence is the most attractive, manliest thing ever to me. Sorry, hands down. Confidence is the sexiest thing. And real confidence, not bullshit, cocky confidence. Not like Trump. That's not confident. That's cocky. It's completely unappealing. Confident people don't have to tell you they're winning all the time. Confident people don't have to go on and say how they're demolishing and they're taking out Iran and they're doing all this. No, you're not. And you have no confidence. Probably micro penis. But in any event, no confidence. So yes, we need to see a rise of the feminine energy globally. Yes.
I want to show people. No, you're off having your own show, so, you know.
You mean like you do?
Well, I do have my own show. That's different.
No,
you can have your own show.
You do it all the time. I don't want my own show. You do it in this show plenty.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
So, that said, this is a very important statement that you passed along to me about why the Zionism stranglehold is so deep and it's become a real problem. And we're not going to get ourselves out of it unless we completely decide that we are going to cut it off once and for all. So here we are.
My name is Kobe. I was born and raised Jewish in Israel. Today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind. Why do we only hear about anti-Semitism but never about anti-Goyism, as taught in the Talmud? So what is anti-Goyism? It's a term that refers to prejudice or hostility by Jews towards non-Jews, often rooted in religious or cultural teachings. In the context of the Talmud, it includes passages that some interpret as promoting the idea that Goyim, non-Jews, are inferior or even enemies. The Talmud, which is our central text, contains passages that some interpret as promoting anti-Goyism. For instance, in the Babylonian Talmud, Tractate Avodah Zarah 26b, it said, even the best of the Gentiles should be killed.
Could you explain again what the origins of the Talmud is and what it really represents?
Why do you want me to do this? Why am I your token Jew? We had Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro on here to really explain the difference. And the Talmud is the text of Jewish teachings, and it is a compilation. It's a compilation of different rabbinical teachings and writings and passages. And it really is such a hodgepodge, which is why it really is hard to hone in, because it's like a lot of other documents, sort of like the Bible. There's parts of it that were done at one point, parts of it that were done at another point. Somebody came along and ripped out one part and put in another part. And the Talmud is like that. And so, you know, you can find things in it that are hateful, that seem hateful. And they were at the time, and they are, but that doesn't mean everybody who reads the Talmud and practices Judaism follows every single literal aspect of the Talmud, any more than every practicing Christian doesn't necessarily, or Catholic, follow every single rule that there is. That's all.
That's a good point.
Another example in Avodah Zarah 36b, it says, the daughters of idolaters, non-Jews, are in state of nidah, which means filth, from birth. The Sanhedrin 82a, whoever cohabits with a Gentile woman, zealots may strike him. And in the Tosafot commentary on Avodah Zarah 26b, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, the best of the Gentiles kill him. Let's also...
I mean, honestly, just hearing this, and this is coming from a person that lived in Israel and I guess left, and it's just...
Yeah.
I mean, what percentage of Jews subscribe to the Talmud, I think is an important question.
I don't know. Well, are you talking about Jews like I'm Jewish because I was raised by a Jewish family in a Jewish neighborhood and went to synagogue and stuff? Or people that are actually practicing Jews, that are practicing Judaism? Because I would suggest that most Jews are not practicing, other than they probably go to synagogue for high holidays and maybe, they do a Seder during Passover. So they're not really practicing Jews, but people like Rabbi Shapiro, who is a practicing Jew, yes, he does practice reading, and he does do readings from the Talmud. I mean,
well, listen, that was the one thing about Rabbi Shapiro that I did not agree with, and I actually thought was, quite telling in many respects, that he was essentially defensive of the Talmud and even defensive of some of the things that was said that was clear as day what they were implying, if not outright saying. And I understand that there is a sort of defense mechanism that has to be employed, that many of them feel that they have to employ because of where things are now. That doesn't mean that it's right. And at some point, you have to recognize why so many people that do not subscribe to this, but just simply for being Jewish, are going to be subject to the wrath of society coming to get them, because that's essentially where we're going. It's going to happen. I know that they don't want to hear it, but, silence is murder. It's not silence is wrong or silence is adjacency. It's outright murder. The silence that Jews in the United States as a collective have had over the last 2.5 years has caused hundreds of thousands of deaths, and in many cases of children. So yes, what he's saying is right. It doesn't mean that it isn't without pain and suffering that someone's going to have to go through. But you know what? What's the old saying? It's not evil. It's the worst kind of evil is not when evil men do evil things, but when good men do nothing. It's something along those lines, but that's essentially what we're looking at.
Yeah.
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 Death, disease, destruction. We still have not evolved. Spock, Bones, where are we today? It's true. That's why Star Trek was for the enlightened. But, you've often said it's so weird how in the movies and even in books, people always seem to know which side to cheer for. Yet in reality, they don't actually practice.
Right. Right.
To talk about Jesus in the Talmud. He is referred to as Yeshu and is portrayed as a sorcerer and a deceiver. In Sanhedrin 107b, it is discussed that Jesus was stoned and hanged on the eve of Passover, portraying him as a false prophet and a sorcerer. Now I've searched and I couldn't find any derogatory references to Jews in the Christians or Muslim texts. It seems that while we have these teachings in the Talmud, other religions don't have similar derogatory views about Jews. And I just want to be clear. Anti-Semitism is real, but so is Anti-Goyism. Both are forms of bigotry that need to be addressed. It's time to have an honest conversation about all forms of prejudice, not just ones that suit our Jewish narrative. So could it be that anti-Semitism is, in a way, Jewish karma for being a racist religion? I don't know. I think so. That's a heavy question, but one worth considering. If we acknowledge the derogatory views in our own texts, maybe we can start to understand the cycle of prejudice and work towards breaking it.
Well, that sounds like such a novel idea, Jen. I know he's
so talking the crazy talk, but yeah, I mean, he's right. But to me, the premise of organized religion is inherently separating and exclusive and judging the other ones that are not your one. So,
well, would you classify him as an Ashkenazi?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you mean? Yeah. I mean, unless he were to say otherwise. I mean, maybe he's Iraqi, like Avi Shalom. I mean, there are definitely, but yeah, he seems to be living somewhere in the West, whether that's in the UK somewhere or Canada or here, I don't know. But
I think it's also fair to acknowledge that his statements regarding the bigotry the Talmud, I would say overall, you could say that it's a combination of the Jewish religion as a whole, but really what I think is the big issue here there is a substantial portion of the world and the US population as a whole that is very aware now of the machinations of Jewish supremacy and what that represents. And when faced with it, now I'm not saying they're all like this, but when faced with that realization, this great awakening, if you will, the Jewish population as a whole, and again, I hate using that term because Judaism is a religion. It's not they treat it as a culture. I'm a Jew. That's your religion. It's not your culture.
It's almost like they need to be saying Ashkenazi. And that is, here's the thing that I know, that when you submit when I submit for a DNA test, right, and it comes back as Ashkenazi Jewish, then that indicates that it has to be more than just a religion, right? Well, the Jewish part isn't, except for the fact that after so many years of intermarrying and inbreeding and all that, it is kind of now. I mean, I know it isn't, so, but kind of. I don't know how to explain it then. But yeah, no, it's a religion for sure. But Ashkenazis, yeah, I mean, that's a whole different concept.
We'll finish it up.
So next time you hear about anti-Semitism, remember to ask, what about anti-Goyism? Let's talk about both, because true justice means recognizing all forms of discrimination, no matter where they come from.
The decision to bury their heads in the sand and pretend that there isn't a Jewish supremacy problem in the hierarchical leadership class, if you will, or just the affluent class that is predominantly Jewish, to pretend that that's not a problem. I'm sorry?
The Epstein class.
Well, sure, but this is also, it is the ruling class. And this is why I've often said that the biggest problem with Jews in general is that they typically come from the upper class. And when you really get down to it, and the breaking of capitalism in the United States, and once capitalism breaks in the United States, it will break all over the world, because that's basically what's happening. But what you're also noticing is that it's always been a class fight. Always. We're not done with the show yet, but if we bring the conversation full circle to the key story that jump-started the live stream tonight, that is a class war. It happens to be that the billionaire CEO is a Zionist Jew, but he's also somebody who very reflectively shows that it's not a stereotype. It's real. It's very real that the working class, the Goyim, if you will, are like, I'm lighting this on fire because I can't take this shit anymore. You think he's the only one who's thinking about doing this? You think he's the only?
At least he's punching up, man. That's the Luigi nature of it.
Yes.
He's directing the anger in the correct direction. Right. So, and I respect that. That's people which to me makes them seem so much more reasonable and rational than the people that are somehow blaming the immigrants for our problems. See, that's irrational because that's not based on any facts or anything. But him taking it out on the person who's responsible for him not having a living wage, that's exactly who is to blame for his problems, right? Like you couldn't better do it.
You saw it all in the Epstein files. There are countless emails, including the former commissioner of the NBA who has passed on, David Stern, communicating with Epstein directly about the Goyim pay for stuff. We don't pay for anything. It's like it's not a joke. Now, as I've said, this is the billionaire ruling class that happens to have a predominant Jewish bent to it, but that doesn't mean that it isn't a class issue. It definitely is. If you removed the backing element from Jewish supremacy, what the fuck would they have? They wouldn't have anything. They would just be a bunch of, big-nosed inbreds. We can make fun of them like we make fun of anybody else. But in reality, they currently control the money supply. And if you control the money supply, you have no reason to change anything at all. But you know what? The rest of the world is not partying to this end anymore. They're just not. China is reunifying with Taiwan. I think that's pretty fucking big. Like, that's a big deal.
I wanted to say something else about that, because this conflict with Iran is doing it in two different ways in terms of reunifying Taiwan and China. So the first thing, like I said, is Taiwan is looking around and being like, okay, we have hitched ourselves to the wrong horse. We're trading in dollars. We're screwed. We need to get back with the mothership, okay? Because the new people are not going to help us. So I think that's a big part of it. But I also think what's happening from this conflict is that China is really seeing us for the paper tiger that we are militarily. China is watching firsthand that we are still playing like 20th century warfare in a whole new world. And by the way, anything that I say like that is stuff that I get from watching Larry Johnson, Scott Ritter, Colonel Wilkerson, like the people who actually really, Colonel McGregor, that know what they're talking about. So yeah, I think that China has just watched us have our asses handed to us. And while we're being lied to about what's going on, they know what's going on. They know that we just got completely defeated. They know that that wasn't a rescue mission. It was us trying to attempt to steal their uranium. And it failed miserably. So instead of painting it as a failed mission, they're trying to make it look like it was a successful rescue mission, but it wasn't. So China sees that, and they see that we're a paper tiger. And plus, then now you've got Taiwan people realizing that we're screwed if we don't get back with the mothership.
I can tell you right now, Americans are going to revolt because you're seeing it now.
We're having it.
Once the noose gets too tight, then that's the case. Jen, Jews for Jesus? Is that real?
No, a lot of them consider themselves Messianic Jews. And the Messianic Jews, by that definition, sort of is Jews for Jesus, but they don't call themselves Jews for Jesus. It's sort of a different thing. But yeah, it's kind of like that. I think it's strange. Although I'm an atheist Jew and I follow the teachings of Jesus. So I don't know. I'm not one to poke at people's names, but the thing about their names is it usually involves trying to spread your stuff. Those are people that like to spread. They want to proselytize. They want you to convert. They want you to believe. So whereas I'm just right.
Vanity. Or as Pacino says, vanity. Definitely my favorite sin.
They basically, the point is that they're Jews, except that they then take Jesus as their savior, which of course for me is the oxymoron, because if you take Jesus as your savior, by definition, you're a Christian. And so hence Messianic Jews, but I don't know.
Can't we
it's very strange to me.
Can't we just agree that religion is kind of silly? Just
well,
a little.
You're asking me? I was born an atheist. Like I've never not been an atheist. I never. It's like, honestly, people ask me about God. You could ask me about Santa Claus and I'd give you the same response. It's something I would tell my kids. I would just say to them, look, it's not what we believe, but don't ruin it for other people. That's me with the God thing as best as I can without being disrespectful.
I saw a message from both Ro Khanna and Marjorie Taylor Greene today about the importance of coming together as a country and disassembling this unholy alliance with Israel. Because if we don't, it is going to be the end of the United States as we know it. We're probably already past the point of salvation on that regard, but recognizing that there are some people out there who see it as a necessity to try to bridge this divide right now is imperative, which is obviously nice to see. Now, there's reason to distrust elected and even formerly elected federal representatives because their interests are never often with the interests of the people. And you could say the same for anyone who has a platform the size of Tucker Carlson. However, Jen and I were discussing this last night. Tucker is and has been proving time and again that he will use his platform for the betterment of humanity on this issue for all it's worth. He doesn't deviate. He doesn't switch. And that has been consistent basically this entire time. But now his statements are getting, I've always said that Tucker is definitely somebody who knows how to play the game and play it well. But now he issued this statement earlier today, and he's not playing around. This is as definitive as it can possibly be.
Well, wait, before you play it, that last statement that Trump made, where he threatened to end them, that threw Tucker off the deep end.
He's like Tucker, enough.
That was it. Yeah.
Has to, and hopefully the first thing we do when and if this war is resolved is detach from Israel, not declare war on Israel or treat Israel as an enemy. They may treat us as an enemy, as they have before. When they tried to sink the USS Liberty, an American naval vessel, a surveillance vessel, they treated us as an enemy. We don't have to treat them as an enemy, however, and we shouldn't. But we should treat them like we treat every other country, as an ally, but with restrictions and reservations and red lines. No, you can't act against our interest. And this distancing should begin with a total end of aid of any kind, military or economic, to Israel by the U.S. government.
I mean, that's pretty definitive. One more time, very clear. There is no.
I didn't realize he didn't say this already before. I would think he already might have said something.
I think he had, but he's done. This is definitive as it can get.
Right.
With a total end of aid of any kind, military or economic, to Israel by the U.S. government.
I mean, that carries weight. There's a lot of, I mean, listen, I wish that our channel carried the type of weight that Tucker's does, but we're 1/25th the size of Tucker's reach. Tucker's
not running for president. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see that either. I know some people think he might do it, but
I don't think so. Tucker, you know what? He doesn't have power hunger to him. He just doesn't. He seems very content with where he is. And I don't know. I don't get a power vibe from him. I don't agree with him on a shit ton of stuff. And I've not always liked him. I don't like him. But I don't see him as a power. Yeah. Nah. I don't think he would want that stress in his life. I really don't.
I don't agree at all. In fact, the only reason, listen, I don't think Tucker cares about the preservation of Israel. I think he cares about the preservation of Jerusalem. I think from a religious standpoint, that does matter to him. He doesn't want to see Jerusalem blown away off the face of the earth. But let me tell you, Israel is 1,000% capable. That's the thing. You're dealing with a rogue, psychotic state that will employ their nuclear arsenal if it means their end. That's the thing that I think people really should be concerned about.
I think he is trying to protect Israel, the physical place, the physical, what you're saying is like about the holy cities and what it means. Yes, I don't see Tucker as trying to preserve as a Jewish state by any stretch. He's been very clear that by definition, that's apartheid. So if he is trying to have any preservation of the land of Israel, it's because he is a religious person and that land matters to him. But no, I don't believe he's trying to preserve an ethno-state for Jews at all. So that's my thought.
And people who love Israel, some of whom are pretty successful, can send all the money they want to Israel, and that's fine. But the U.S. government should send not one more dollar to Israel and not one more piece of military material to Israel, not one more fighter jet or bomb or missile defense system or small arm or ammunition of any kind. Because Israel is aggressively acting against our interests. And so to continue to arm and finance them, their generous welfare state, for example, or their military, or defend their nation, is not only contrary to core American interests, it's just masochism.
But this is the part about what you've often said in that Israel is us and we are Israel. Well, we are to the extent that the powers that be in the State Department want it to be that way because this is what they believe in. Now, whether or not you keep it something as simple as me declaring that it's our aircraft carrier in the Middle East, or West Asia, as it's really supposed to be called, they say that 4% of the human population, which is approximately 200 million people, I believe.
Yeah.
It's about 200 million people on this planet that can be classified as either narcissistic personality disorder, sociopathic, or outright psychopathic, without any form of psychological, sort of like, forgetting the, there's no testing involved. There's no adjusting to one's environment. Like inherently, this is who you are. You have that tendency within your personality. And by that measure, the type of people, as you've often said, that are typically attracted to politics, to power, money, and what comes with the power, what with the type of power that comes with money. It's a certain type of person. Not all people are bad that go into politics, but all bad people in one way, shape, or form probably find their way into politics. And that's a shame.
It suits them. I think it's that the bad people are the ones who stay in it the longest, at least ones that we know of. And yeah, there's decent people that are public servants. There's just not enough of them that it makes a difference. And I don't see Tucker as a power hungry person. And I don't see him as someone who wants that life. I don't.
I would agree. I mean, again, I don't think it's impossible that Tucker would run for president. I think it is anything. Listen,
I can see Tucker running for a Senate seat. I could see that, but I don't know. I think that when you're him and you already have the privilege of his life that he has, I don't know. I just don't think so. Again, I don't find him somebody that's seemingly going for power. He's never said that.
We have been saying this for the longest time, pretty much since the beginning, because Tucker's been on it from day one. Candace Owens was not. But Tucker Carlson has pretty much been on the right side of this issue basically since jump. And that consistency. Tucker was already changing at that point because he had already had his falling out with Fox News, I believe. So this is not entirely surprising. Tucker is just showing the person that he is. And listen, I can still remember when I was like really getting into politics when I was a young teen. And I remember when Tucker was on Crossfire and he would wear the bow tie and everyone would make fun of him. But I don't know, I got a kick out of him. I just did. And, it's hard to believe he's been in the game for so long. But the fact is that he got in the game at a very young age. Like he was on national TV on CNN when he was in his early 20s. Like he's been around a long time. He's not that old. He's only in his early 50s.
He's a Nepo baby.
Yes.
And that, again, people like that are not necessarily desperate for power. He's comfortable with where he is in life. And he's also seemingly safe and protected. So
I would definitely agree with that.
So what, I don't know. I've never gotten political ambition from him. I've never gotten that vibe from him. So
watch us hate ourselves as we fund a country that's killed more Americans than most other countries have. That's just a fact, and not just on the liberty. Every war that Israel has pushed us to join has resulted in dead Americans. And the fault lies ultimately with our leaders who are going along with this. It's their fault first. It's not the Israelis' fault. It's our fault. But they're implicated in it. This relationship has resulted in a lot of dead Americans. A lot. And it's time not to end it, not to set up an adversarial relationship, but to set up a healthy conventional relationship where Israel can pay its own bills and fund its own military and act within the constraints imposed on it by its own economy and population. That's what normal countries do.
And
left-wing nationalists, there's a whole bunch of actual progressives here in terms of wanting to see progress. So feel free, throw your question in the chat.
And I also want to say that the final statement that Tucker made about Israel being able to pay its own bills and protect itself and all that. See, that's the genius really of Tucker Carlson in a nutshell. He knows that Israel is not capable of doing that on its own. He knows that the second we pull the plug, we are literally we're pulling you off of life support is essentially what's happening. That's it. And this would have been the case even before the first Intifada. You bring it full circle to where we are today and everything that Israel has done in our name as well over the past 2 generations. They are sitting ducks because this country has come to the realization that it does not want to be conscripted to Israel anymore. So it may not happen today and it may not happen tomorrow, but it's 1000% coming. We are on that trajectory. And that's why you're seeing those fuckheads flee to Argentina, to Cyprus, to the Philippines. They're getting kicked out of the Philippines. They're not welcome in Japan. This is what's going to happen. They're going to circle around to a whole bunch of places. But let me tell you something, especially with Milei Okowski. The Argentinians are going to rebel against their government soon enough as well. That's going to happen. They're not going to put up with that shit because on top of everything else, Milei is driving that country into the fucking ground. And then you have the forest fires that these fuckheads start so that they could start building land. They probably tried to do it the normal way. We're going to bribe you out of here. We're taking your home. No, you're not doing that. Okay, we'll just burn down your trees and we'll build. That's what they're doing. But they will never be accepted. You saw how the Zios are being treated in Mexico. That's not going to stop. This is going to happen everywhere. I can't wait for Saturday because I know I'm going to find another one of these assholes trying to push their way into a certain area, and then they're going to find out they're not welcome there. They're going to have to.
What do you want to end with?
We're going to end with somebody who you and I both admire quite a bit. But that is essentially where
it can't be Pierce Morgan. I see his. Oh, Abby. I see Abby. Or it can't be Loomer.
No. So Abby Martin is somebody that Jen and I both like and respect a great deal. We have gone back and forth with her for years now, trying to, set up a conversation. Hopefully it'll happen one day. Maybe she'll be in DC when we're there. We'll see.
I don't know. She's touring with her movie.
Yes. And I will say that it is heartbreaking to listen to her talk about this issue because it really cuts to her core because she has seen so much. She is also good friends with Rania Kalik, and Rania is going through hell right now on earth, literally going through hell on earth in Beirut.
Yeah.
And here is, yes, Abby is a heroine. That's a very good way to describe her. Yeah, she's like I wouldn't say she's Catwoman, but maybe she's Wonder Woman. I don't know. I mean, listen, she's definitely got that like superhero heroinist vibe, 100%.
Yeah, I'm worried about Rania too. I'm worried about Rania. I'm worried about Laith. Yeah. I know Laith Roof, who I've never met, but I like him a lot. And I mean,
and if I'm Rania, I am really concerned now because now that you see this supposed ceasefire already breaking and Zio Hell coming out saying, "Oh, we're not listening to anything you say regarding Lebanon."
No, now Abby's not on heroin. She is a heroine. Jesus.
You know that some people just don't know the difference between ending with an E and without an E. There's a difference. But if Rania has not taken refuge somewhere, I hope that
she's already moved like around. Like, it's very. Yeah. But I did want to tell people something on a slightly positive note. That if you guys did not watch our guest a couple weeks ago, Mohammed Al-Turk, the young Palestinian man in Gaza that we interviewed, who's a university student, he graduated. And he sent us, he's so cute. He sent us his transcript. And well, because it was this, like, it all comes in this one thing, like, whatever. And he has really good grades. And I felt really proud of that. And I thought that's really cool. And what a testament to him and to just Palestinian resilience. Like he just graduated from college in the middle of a Holocaust. I wouldn't have graduated if it snowed that day. No, seriously, like the level of strength and determination from someone born in a concentration camp is just off the chain to me.
It's a special.
So yeah, so congratulations, Muhammad. If you are watching, we're very proud of you.
Here's Abby Martin.
This rogue, apartheid, genocidal, maniac, serial killing, pathologically lying state, isolated, shame anyone who goes there. Academics, celebrities, politicians, and they've been exposed for what they are. And Zionism's on its last leg. It only exists by the weight of its propaganda, and that propaganda has collapsed. And
it's not just that it's collapsed. And this is the one part that I think Abby is missing, that I think a lot of people are missing, is that the money factor is significant. There's a lot of people out there. I mean, think about it. Think about, Jen, how many different content creators we have seen with their hands out. Oh, you want to get $7,000 to do a post that might gain enough traction? We've seen them all. And we know the ones that have moved away from it, that don't need it, or were never interested in it in the first place, or understood exactly what was going on. And it isn't just people on the right. It's all over the place.
You are correct. Not only do Palestinians value education, Palestinians have the highest literacy rate in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as David Hunter points out, Muhammad was a great guest on Punch Up Pod last night.
Yes, he was. I watched it. We watched it this morning. I could not be up that late.
entirely. The world sees Israel for what it is, and it can't last for long in its current state. You cannot expect change in a society this far gone. It is full-throated fascist. And that's why they act the way they do, with full, total impunity, because they have no humanity left. This is a society so far gone with protection of a military empire, with hatred in their hearts. And we're seeing essentially the Fourth Reich today, marching.
I want you to really quick explain the evolution since the first Intifada in terms of the population of Israel and how much that has changed since 1987 and how it has become more and more fascist extremist over the past 3-4 decades.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, look, we've seen it in a lot of countries. We saw it here. We've seen it in Argentina. We see it in Hungary. Like this sort of, there was this right-wing fascist bubbling going on. And yeah, Zio did used to have a much more moderate populace than they do right now. And what happened over years, over like I'd say 20 or so years, is the more normal-minded, reasonable people left because they didn't want their kids or serving in the military. They were not on board with what was going on there in terms of the increasing apartheid regime and the oppression of the people. So there were at once more moderate Israeli people, but there haven't been in a long time, which is why, like, if you had done that poll that says 80 or 90% of the people there support the Holocaust in Gaza, if you had done that poll 30 years ago, you wouldn't have gotten that. You wouldn't have gotten that. But now, yeah, they're gone. They're now it's a rabid animal that has to be put down.
Forward. And there's no allied forces coming to save us. The Israeli Knesset just passed a law allowing the execution of Palestinian prisoners, but not Israelis. This is the true face of apartheid Israel. But this is nothing new. I saw this firsthand when I was in Israel back in 2016. Full-throated fascism.
You can't deal with these people. There's no need to try. There's no need to talk to them.
There's only one way, like, I would carpet bomb them.
You would carpet bomb them?
It's the only way you could deal with it.
I didn't realize this. I didn't realize how viscerally, grotesquely genocidal Israelis were. How openly fascist they would be to anyone.
Jews shouldn't marry Arabs.
Shouldn't marry Arabs. Why do you feel strongly about that?
Because Jews is a special nation that God gave it to the Jews. We don't want the Arabs to be here.
And that's not an old, that's a kid. That's a, maybe his early teens.
Yes.
But as you've often pointed out, This is the type of rhetoric that is embedded in their brain from the time that they can comprehend words.
Yes. Yes. I mean, look, we've had Miko Pellet on, you know, someone who was literally born and propagandized in Ziohel. And yeah, they're taught a completely different set of facts, a completely different history. They're taught something that's completely made up and make believe. But when you teach people that from a young age, and it's all institutionalized all around you, and everyone else is, look, we're the same way here. We were raised thinking that the Pilgrims and the Indians sat down, and we were raised thinking that America is all that in a bag of chips. We've all had it to some extent. But when you're dealing with a country that size, remember, guys, Israel is the size of Jersey, right? The size of New Jersey. So it's really small. And when you deal with very, very non-diverse, you know, very monolithic people in a small place like that, this seems to be like what it turns into. It just, it's almost like, because it's always been violent there, but it wasn't as obvious, it wasn't as visible, and it was not something that everybody there was on board with. Whereas now, the Overton window has shifted, and this has already been going on since at least 2014, when Milikowski came back. That's when we started to see a lot of people migrating that were the more moderate people, because the new right wing, but sort of like how some people left here, you know, or threatened to leave here if Trump got elected or when Bush got elected. So there were some of those
that they actually move.
Knew that they were on camera. That's what's so alarming to me too. I wasn't trying to hide. I wasn't doing gotcha journalism. I was going up with a camera and saying, generally, what do you think about the situation?
I think Israelis have to take over, and they have to kick them away.
I was so horrified and alarmed at the genocidal rhetoric that was being espoused. Every single person, for every generation, every walk of life, they wanted ethnic cleansing. They said we should nuke them. One little girl laughing, we should kill all Arabs. Kill all Arabs.
We need to kill the Arabs.
See, that looks like some inbreeding right there.
Oh, sure. Well, that's alcohol. That's alcohol fetal
Let
syndrome.
it finish and then see if you can go back and pause it over Gavir posing over hogtied prisoners, wherever that was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's his room. That guy's Heinrich Himmler. He's Joseph Goebbels. He's Reinhard Heinrich. That's who
Meanwhile, it looks like his girlfriend got killed.
Oh, yeah. See, that's been confirmed.
Oh, so his mistress has been killed. So
Yeah.
there's that.
His barely legal looking mistress.
He is so disgusting.
He is. He's the worst of them all. He is. Talk about a guy who definitely. Jen, where's your graphic? I mean, you want to talk about a dude who's definitely got a little. He's got a pencil dick or a little ween.
You think we have to understand small dick energy? Probably.
Oh, Gavir definitely has. He is nothing but small dick energy. Nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
That's the difference between somebody like him and Netanyahu, is that Netanyahu, for all of his bluster, doesn't overcompensate in his rhetoric. Whereas Gavir, he's always shouting, he's always volatile, he's always talking about how much he wants to kill people and do this, that, and the other thing. And the fucking guy opened up a bottle of champagne. He opened up a bottle of champagne when they passed the death penalty act.
I'm sorry. He was wearing a noose pin.
Yeah, noose pin.
You're going to hang them in mass amounts. And by the way, if they do that, Iran will do what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, end them.
Oh, no. That's what they're going to do to the prisoners they have of ours.
Sure.
I'd be very careful with that.
Josie apologizes. She was dealing with some home-related things, but
That's okay.
get up.
That's okay. We got to wrap anyway. It's time.
We have one more super chat to get to before we get out for the evening. H299 with the $4.99 to be precise. Super sticker. Thank you very much. On Saturday night, I'm going to cover a few different stories. I don't think I'll cover being John Malkovich. I think we definitely covered that tonight. I liked how there was a person in the chat who kept saying, no, what's the name of the movie? No, this isn't a joke. It's called Being John Malkovich. I will cover Dan Bilzerian on Saturday. I will address it because there's
David Hunter. You're going to want to sit that one out.
No, it's actually important. I'm not, again, most if not all of what we talk about is relevant, even if it has a tinge of humor and an enjoyment that we get out of it if we can. But in the end, I understand why he wants to go after Randy Fine. I also think it's plausible that some people end up doing things because they see the dollar signs and they know that if they run against Randy Fine that they'll raise a lot of money. They'll gain a lot of clout, but are they really going to win? Probably not. One thing about the South, they don't like carpetbaggers. They also don't like people with very checkered pasts that are not very Christian-like. And you try to bring that into the area, and one would say, yeah, but Randy Fine. Yeah, Randy Fine has something that Dan Bilzerian doesn't have. He has legislative experience, and he is the incumbent congressional representative. It is very difficult to beat an incumbent, even one that is as short tenured as he is. You end up look at Lou. Look at Lulu. There she is.
I had to move her food over here because they were doing some sanding in the kitchen. So her food got relocated. She's not loving all the work getting done. I will tell you that. She is definitely not liking it. She's barked at a lot of people today.
I would say this to Bilzerian if he came on the podcast. I want to get rid of that fat fuck as much as you do.
Yeah, we can talk about this on Saturday. Can you save this for Saturday?
But if you want to get rid of him, there's a thing called strategy in politics, which a lot of people on both sides of the aisle tend to lack.
And I'm sure Dan Bilzerian will be waiting with bated breath to hear your strategy for him.
See what I have to put up with? So encouraging. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. That image will never not be crazy.
Rest in power, Commie John. Seriously.
Yes. I'll see you Saturday and free Palestine.
Palestine.
Good night, guys.